And good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. We are currently examining and studying. We are trying to bring to a close our study of the doctrine of the absent master of Matthew chapter 25, 14 and following in our overall study of the Olivet Discourse. Listen, the general view is that the Olivet Discourse is divided into two subjects. Number one, the fall of Jerusalem, which Jesus supposedly discussed in Matthew chapter 24, verses 4 to 34, perhaps verse 35. And then at verse 35 or verse 36, Jesus supposedly changed the subject to be discussing the so-called end of time, the end of the current Christian age. So Matthew chapter 25 is supposedly a very clear-cut discussion of Jesus' coming at the end of the current Christian age. I've been demonstrating to you from a wide range of intertextual studies how that simply cannot be true. There are not many returns of the absent master. And yet here's what happens. In the amillennial world, and in the postmillennial world especially, it is admitted that Acts chapter 1 is the ascent of Christ. It is the master departing. Okay? But then we are told, Acts chapter 1 is the departure of the nobleman to go into a far country there to receive a kingdom, Luke chapter 19, 11 and following. And it is the master of the vineyard who goes away to return and gather the vintage, Matthew 21, 33 and following. And it is the absence of the master in Matthew 25, 14 and following. Yeah, that's all that true, we are told. But then we are told that Matthew chapter 24 speaks of Christ coming on the clouds of heaven, coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, coming on the clouds of heaven in the kingdom, coming on the clouds of heaven in power, great glory, in the kingdom, and in judgment. Well, wait a minute, I thought that was the second coming. Oh, no, we're told. No, that can't be true. We're told instead that coming that happened in AD 70, and all you have to do is read Gary DeMar, Kenneth Gentry, even Keith Matheson, who may or may not still believe that. He vacillates from time to time, depending on who he's writing against. But nonetheless, Jesus came in AD 70. And you know what? According to Kenneth Gentry, a wedding took place in AD 70. And the new covenant bride, quote, supplanted, unquote, the old covenant. And the new creation, new heaven and new earth, came into existence in AD 70. Oh, but wait. That was but a type and a shadow of the yet future coming of the Son of Man on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, with the angels, in judgment, and in the kingdom. Now, if you were to put those two realities side by side, just get you a piece of paper, okay? On the left-hand side, put coming of the Son of Man with the angels. Oh, and by the way, you can include the trumpet and the shout and clouds and angels in judgment, in the kingdom, in that generation. See, you can put all that together. And then on the right-hand side, make your identical list, just right straight across. And see if you can determine which one is the, quote, real coming of the Lord. Well, you couldn't tell it by the language at all. You have to determine it because you have a preconceived idea that these are different events. And yet every single constituent element of the coming of the Son of Man on the clouds with a shout, with the angels, with a trumpet, in judgment, in glory, in the first century generation is found in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, 13 and following. So anyway, in Matthew chapter 24, and I'm looking up because I have a wasp. Yeah, I have a wasp buzzing overhead, and I am extremely allergic to those things. So I hope I get to continue this video. Just go away. All right, in Matthew chapter 24, Jesus said, if they say, we're going to start with verse 24. Many false Christs and false prophets will arise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I've told you beforehand, therefore, if they say to you, look, he's in the desert, do not go out, or look, he's in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and the west and flashes to the west, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Where do you? You see, if he stings me, I'm going to go poof. So anyway, back to the text. I want you to notice something here. What people do here on these verses is they say, okay, look, here's what we got. Jesus said that his coming was not supposed to be private. It wasn't supposed to be in seclusion. Everyone would see it. Well, here's an amazing thing about this. Jesus said, if anyone says he's out in the desert, what they're saying by that is you can go out in the desert and see a 5'5" Jewish man, right? Yeah. Or if they say, look, he's in the inner chamber, then what they're saying is, hey, look, you can come see the Messiah as a 5'5" Jewish man. Now, in the desert and in the inner chamber, neither one of those are judgment contexts. In the wilderness is an issue, a subject of total isolation, just like being in an inner chamber. Isolation, hiddenness. But Jesus said, don't believe them when they say it's in isolation. Way out where? Way out anywhere, separate and apart from anything. No, don't believe them. For as the lightning comes from the east and the west, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Do you realize that the imagery of God coming and being like lightning is directly from Psalms 97? Jesus, in one way, was associating himself with the Father. He was saying, I am deity. Well, how had deity always come in previous judgments? You need to get a copy of my book, Like Father, Like Son, on Clouds of Glory. And you will see that Jesus said he was going to come as the Father had come. And the Father had never come literally, visibly, bodily, out of heaven on literal clouds at any point of time in history. So what Jesus is saying here is really honestly a refutation of the idea of Christ coming as a 5'5" Jewish man. Jesus said, if they say he's in the desert, as a 5'5" Jewish man, don't go out there. If they say, oh, look, he's in an inner chamber, hidden in an inner chamber, as a 5'5" Jewish man, don't believe it. It's going to be obvious. And when we see that God had always come on the clouds with the angels in flaming fire, in judgment, in open manifestation of the judgment of a city, kingdom, or nation, that is what Jesus is talking about. So instead of Matthew 24, 23 and following, proving that Christ has to come and every human being on the face of the earth see him, which would technically be impossible, wouldn't it? But nonetheless, instead of that being being what Jesus was saying, he is emphatically refuting the idea that he was going to come as a 5'5" Jewish man in a physical body. You don't go to the desert to see him. You don't go to the inner room to see him. It would be manifest to all. And I'm out of time for this morning. In the morning, on Wednesday, we're going to be looking at Matthew 24:29 and following. And Jesus is coming as the Son of Man on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. In the meantime, please get a copy of my book, Like Father, Like Son, on Clouds of Glory. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. Order the book. Make mention that you saw the offer on YouTube and Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping. That'll save you $5. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you on the flip side, unless that stinking wasp manages to get me, and I'll probably be in the emergency room. Okay, see you on the flip side.